Guys, so here's the notes for 5.3 day 2. We're going to talk about arithmetic series and summation as well as simple interest. Okay, so it says the terms of a sequence can be added together. Adding the terms of a sequence gives us what is called a series. So basically in your first day, right, we talked about a sequence. That kind of is just like you have a number and then you have your second term, third term, boom, boom, boom. But when you add these terms, it creates what we call a series. So that's the difference between series and sequences. So one, you just list out the numbers. The other one, you would add them together. Okay, now this is a lot here, so we're going to kind of just take this bit by bit. But here says, so notice you have u sub 1, u sub 2. So these are just your terms, like your first term, your second term, your third term, all the way to whatever's the last term. Notice that there's commas in between. That is a sequence. However, when you have these terms like u sub 1, u sub 2, u sub 3, notice there's plus signs in between. That's when it becomes a series. So as stated, the difference is commas, when you list out the values, it's going to be a sequence. When you add your terms, that's a series. Now, we will talk about the sum. So we denote it by S sub n. So S, of course, just represents sum. And n just tells you the number of terms. So for example, if we saw like S sub 14, that means we are adding 14 terms, or finding the sum of 14 terms. That's what basically this would represent here, okay? And you can see that here, so S sub n, and then we would just add up all the terms. Now, we do see that, but another notation we see is this Greek letter, which we call sigma. Now, you may be wondering, like, well, didn't we learn about sigma here? Yes, this is sigma, but this is what we call the lowercase, just as in English, right? We have uppercase, lowercase. But yes, upper and lowercase of these Greek letters does kind of represent different stuff in math, okay? So remember, this represented standard deviation when we had the lowercase. Uppercase sigma, that's what this is. So uppercase, if I can spell, sorry guys. Uppercase sigma just means sum. So we're going to find the sum of stuff. So here you're going to see this notation. Now I do want to talk about the stuff that's above, below, and next to this, because we're going to see that quite a bit in our notes today. So the n above the sigma that you see, that is basically telling about like what term you want to stop at. So that could be like 3, 4, 5. So if they had a 5 on this n up here, that means we would want to stop at the 5th term. Now you'll also see on your notes this I equals 1. So if you see the 1, that means this is actually your first term. And so what this means is if I had a 1, and then let's say we put like this was 5, right? So I'm just going to put 5. This is an example. Basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find the sum from the first term to the 5th term. So that's what it means here. So here 1 means that your first, 5th means 5. So basically any term between the 1st and 5th, we would find the sum of all those values. Now you'll also see this u sub I. So let's talk about what does this represent. Now this u sub I, this means our rule. So remember yesterday we talked about basically that rule. It was like u sub n equals, and then we had n minus 1. Oh, and we got to put our u sub 1 in front of that because that's the first term. So we have u sub 1, n minus 1 times d. This is our rule. Now, the thing is, yesterday, we didn't really have to simplify. In this case, we will have to simplify. And you'll see what that looks like momentarily. Make sure it is simplified. So your rule here does have to be simplified, okay? Now you may be wondering, what does I mean? It's just like one of the letters we use. This actually can change. Sometimes I've seen where we're doing like series, this may be a K. Really don't worry, they just need to have the variable, but make sure when we do this, your variable down here, and when you do your rule, and once again I'll talk about this momentarily, when you do these two, they do need to be the same. So you don't want to kind of change up the variables, okay? Okay, so I've kind of talked about the notation. Make sure to watch the next video. That'll be over example 1 and 2, where we actually do arithmetic series and we find the sum of our series.